Hello YouTubers, my bedroom system. It's a Leek Delta 70 amplifier and a Leek Delta AM FM tuner. These are popular vintage amplifiers, and even though they're popular, they are fairly cheap. You can pick them up on eBay for around £50 for the amplifier and considerably less for the tuner. They're pretty compact. The amplifier is heavy. It's a weighty unit, which is a good sign. They both are very well made. Lots of discrete components. You can actually fix these things. Try doing that with a modern Japanese amplifier. They have a modular approach. These cards slot out, a bit like PC cards, and everything is easy to get to. They have proper aluminium slabs here and here, pressed steel chassis, and the veneer on the boxes, which you'll see shortly, is proper wood, not stick-on vinyl imitation. In other words, it's a proper amp and a proper tuner. Styling is interesting. They can be placed next to each other, as you can see, on top of each other. They have the retro 70s vibe going on, but they suit a modern environment equally as well. You can imagine this with a iPod dock or something similar next to it. And most importantly, the sound. What is it like? Well, good. People describe it as pleasant, and that's exactly what it is. It's something you'll tap your foot to, depending on the music. It's enjoyable. There's no grain. It's not unpleasant at the top end or the bottom end or in the middle. It's a tight sound. That's why they are always popular. They are robust vintage amplifiers with good sound, and you can modify them. Okay, some background details. The Leek Delta 70 amplifier, and I think the tuner, but I'm not 100% sure, were manufactured from 73 to 78. I've read that the amplifier is an evolution of the previous model, the Leek Stereo 70. I've also read it's exactly the same. If there are any differences, they'll be minimal. What is known is the Delta name was used when the new owners, I say new, this is back in the early 70s, when the new owners took Leek over. They were namely the Rank Corporation. Prior to Rank Corporation, the owner was Harold Leek, an iconic figure in British vintage audio reproduction and hi-fi. He sold Leek in '69 and retired. Okay, a bit about the amplifier in particular. It has a range of features dating from the past, vintage features, which are notable, interesting. Of these vintage features, the first is the high gain on the inputs. All of the inputs have quite high gain, and this is typical of amplifiers of the period, as source levels were different back then. These amplifiers are a typical example of the breed. Today there's a trend to modify the gain on various inputs by substituting various resistors. The phono input receives this treatment more than the other inputs, as the phono input can overload with little voltage input. If you want to optimize this, it's not difficult. There are circuit diagrams all over the web, not hard to get hold of. You want to change the R16 resistor with a 1K trimmer. Now you can achieve some more voltage overload by changing the trimmer, adjusting the value down to about 400 ohms. There are two tuner inputs, the first of which has a selectable gain, high-low. It's this input which people tend to use because they can use the amplifier as a result without any modification. They don't need to change any resistors or anything like that. They just use tuner 1 input, selects low gain, and away they go. Personally, I run modern components such as MP3 players, CD players, etc. through tuner 1 input and the tape input, and they sound excellent. It's worth noting, if you use low gain on the tuner 1 input, you'll get a very slight increase in sound quality, and the same for the tape input. The tape input bypasses the treble and tone controls and again you'll get a slight increase in sound quality. The tape input, it's the most notable of the two if you want to increase the sound quality. I've tried them both. I've had an input go through the tuner circuit on high gain. It sounds good. I've had an input go through the tuner circuit on low gain, and there is an increase in sound quality. And I had it go through the tape input, which bypasses the tone controls, and the sound quality takes a further leap forward. I've done blind A/B comparisons with this with a friend of mine, and it is notable. It's definitely something that's not imagined. I can replicate it, so if I don't want to increase the bass or treble, I want 0 levels on those, I'll put it through the tape input and get the best quality sound I can from this unit. As for this increase in sound, what do I mean by that? Well, there is a slight increase in the resolution and the clarity, as you would expect if you're bypassing components in the signal path. Whilst on the subject of modifications, this amplifier is an ideal candidate for modifying, particularly if you're new to this. There are plenty of diagrams online. As I said, the amplifier is cheap, and they're still plentiful. You'll find them on eBay on a regular basis. As I said, they're modular, so these can come out and you can replace the capacitors and resistors and get access to anything further in quite easily. And helpfully, here in the UK, if you make a mistake, you just send off the particular board that you've made a mistake on to various repair specialists in the UK, and they'll fix it, send it back, and you simply slot it back in again, and away you go. The only downside to this modular approach is that the PCB connectors can corrode, but ironically they're easy to fix because of the modular design. Further about modifying them, hopefully the transistors can be replaced. In some amplifiers they can't. In these ones, not only can you replace them, you can replace them with more modern versions, and people have played around with this and reportedly got another increase in sound quality. I've not done that myself, so I don't know. This particular amplifier is completely stock, apart from two things the person before me has done. They've replaced the output jacks at the back. You can see with this wiring here, and these terminals, they're new, and they replaced the power cable here. I'm not sure why they've done that. Yeah, but other than that, it's completely stock. So I think I'll, when I have time, start to recap them. The caps are 35 years old after all, so for no other reason I'll replace them just for peace of mind. But the sound quality, as it is, it's still good, but you'll hear that when I give them a demo. The speaker outputs have coupling capacitors. There's only 4 output transistors. They're mounted on the heatsinks, obviously, along with compensation diodes. And very quickly, on the front of the amplifier, let's read out from left to right. Tuner 1 shares the input with the mic. Tuner 2 have a replay and disc 1 and disc 2 inputs, which are the phono inputs. You have bass and treble controls, rotary balance control, 2 mono inputs, tape, a filter, 2 speaker outputs, the first of which takes 4 ohm speakers, and a headphone socket. At the rear, they do use DIN jacks, but like I say, this has been replaced on this amplifier by the previous owner. And did I mention it sounds nice? Okay, tuner next.